We was here before you last year talking about with the survivors, talking about the crime cleanup, with the burial services, the support that they needed. Now we have expanded New York State Office of Victim Services through this budget with more financial support. Burial services was capped at $6,000. Now through the budget, it has been raised to $12,000 for burial services. That there's more reimbursement for cleanup. Don't matter if you're the landlord, you're the neighbor. If the crime happened in front of your house or in your facility, you clean up and you will get reimbursed. No judgment. It doesn't matter. There's no contributory language to if you contribute to your death. Your family will still get services, will still get full reimbursement, and especially support with those living with disabilities. Thank you to every person here that worked with us through key legislation. We also want to make sure that it's safe storage. We have a big illegal gun issue, but when it's a legal gun, make sure you store it safely, especially when you have minors in that house. Unfortunately, we started this year with 10 shootings, people being injured in Queens. We know that we had 10 people murdered in Buffalo. We know that we have 5 people in the summer violence of Buffalo. Yesterday in Syracuse, we had about 4 people shot. This epidemic is growing, but there's hope. Through our collective voices, for us coming together, there is hope. So we're going to continue with our other legislators, and I want to make sure I introduce our one and only chair, Michaelle Solages.
I want to thank Monique Chandler Waterman. Please just give her a huge round of applause. Talk about ending the epidemic for gun violence. She has put her mind, body, and soul on the line to ensure that resources come to marginalized communities. So I really just want to thank you for your work. And I also want to thank Senator Cleare for her work, her advocacy, and her voice. Really, it's amazing. I love hearing her talk. That's right. But I do also want to acknowledge every single one of the caucus members who stand behind me and who are in their offices or in the hallways advocating for the end of this proliferation, this epidemic, this crisis that's hitting our communities. We gather here for Gun Violence Awareness Month to remember the lives that are lost, honor the survivors, and recommit ourselves to action, right? We want action?
Yes. Action.
So gun violence for us is not a headline. It's a daily reminder for so many families across New York State and this nation. It touches every community, whether it's urban, suburban, rural. It touches every kind of income class, wealthy, poor. I've heard so many stories. For example, Mr. Anderson right here has a bill about gun storage, and a woman whose family has all types of needs impacted by gun violence. And her story touched me, so thank you for carrying that bill and making sure we remember that lost life. And so we're not talking just about public safety, we're talking about public health. We're talking about making sure that the leading cause of gun violence amongst children and teens are curtailed, because we should be outraged by this, we should be moved. We need to treat gun violence like it's a crisis, with smart laws, with community-based solutions, with sustainable investment. And it's unfortunate what's happening on a federal level because they're leaving our community behind. And so we must double down here in New York State. We must be trauma-informed, we must be youth-led, we must make sure that resources go to violence interrupters. So remember, ending gun violence is not a partisan issue, and it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It's a moral issue. It's about making sure that our families grow up out here, so that we can go to supermarkets, so that we can go to the movie theaters and not have to worry about losing our lives. Making sure for those who are going through trauma or have suicidal ideations have support and help. Making sure that families feel safe walking down the road and playing in playgrounds. So let's keep showing up, let's keep raising our voice. I thank all the survivors here, the advocates, the faith-based leaders. I thank the caucus members, because this is about pushing New York to making it better. Excelsior, right? Making sure that everyone is free from gun violence. So with that, I turn it back over to our great co-chairs, and I thank you so much for your work. Really thank you, Chair. Thank you.
And now we're going to have my co-chair, Cleare, my sister in government, Senator Cordell Cleare, represented from Harlem.
All right.
First of all, I want to thank my dynamic co-chair, and I want to thank Chair Solages and the caucus for all the work that we have done around gun violence prevention. I'm new to this co-chair, but sadly not new to gun violence. We experience it across districts, and especially in Black and brown communities, we are united through this plague. A stubborn plague that doesn't go away, that needs to have the underlying causes addressed. The hurt, the deprivation, the lack of everything you could imagine. And through these organizations that have come together, we've been able to get interrupters, trusted voices in the community that know the community, to go out and do this work every day. We have to support those organizations. You know, today I'm keeping the following 4 individuals foremost in my mind. Xenia Z. Mete, a Harlem neighborhood activist, community builder, and peacemaker. Grandmother, killed by gun violence. Darius Lee, a college basketball phenomenon for Houston Baptist University in Texas, and a mentor to the youth in the Bronx and Harlem, killed by gun violence. Nathan Alsbrook, a bright, studious, religious 15-year-old with all the promise in the world, killed by gun violence. Clarence Jones, 16 years old, full of adventure and potential, killed by gun violence. What these individuals from my district have in common is that they were out there living community and civic-minded lives, often involved in initiatives and programs to help others, and one day, indiscriminately, their lives were taken by instruments of pure violence. I mention those names because sometimes people think gun violence looks a certain way. These are people who were not involved in any kind of criminal activity. In fact, they were contributing and building their community. I have the father of Nathan Alsbrook here today, and I thank you because not only did he lose his son, but as Chair Waterman mentioned, turned his pain into purpose and is fighting to save the lives of other children. Our mission here is to make sure that everyone's lived experience leads to picking up degrees, being mentors, going to college, getting a summer job, pursuing one's dreams and passion, and having the freedom to do so. As was mentioned, gun violence is a public health and public policy problem, and we have just started investing in it. The solutions are out there, and it is our job to have the courage and the conviction to invest in long-term solutions that will empower our people. Thank
you so much for that. Thank you to our co-chair. And now you know we have to settle right. We're going to do a prayer from 6th Precinct Clergy Council, God's Squad, Dr. Reverend Charles Barbara. If you come from Brooklyn.
Good morning. Good morning. In these moments, many times when we think about prayers and thoughts, we think about prayer as something just wishful or passive. I want to suggest that prayer pushes us to action. So would you join with me even in this moment as we join together in prayer? God of our weary years and God of our silent tears, God who has brought us thus far along the way, we look to you even in this moment with faith, with challenge, and with concern. We come to you in this moment to address the issue of gun violence. It is our prayer not to reduce, not to mitigate, but to end gun violence. We come together collectively with elected officials, community-based organizations, churches, as well as faith-based institutions to come together to say that there needs to be an end to gun violence. Strengthen our hands, strengthen our feet, strengthen our resolve to continue to work to end gun violence. We pray for those who have been weary in this journey. They're not weary in well-doing, for in due season they'll reap if they faint not. We pray for those mothers and fathers and siblings who are mourning the loss, the death, the murder, the separation of their loved one. We ask that you would be a God of comfort to them, but also that we would have the courage to stand and to speak, to act, and to move. Guide us even in this time together. We pray this moment would not just be another week, would not just be another month, would not just be another day, but guide us to collectively come together to end gun violence. We thank you even right now. We have the resources and the resolve to do it. But God, we ask for all the resources. We ask for all the support. We ask for the proper legislation to be put in place and placed on the ground to affect the change that is needed. Guide our hearts and minds, and we lift this up, believing and trusting that every day you anoint our heads with oil. That our latter shall be greater than our past, and that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. As I say in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, point blank, period. We lift this up with respect to all the collective religious traditions that are present. I lift this up in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
And everyone here? Because we have a majority leader. Our majority leader, Crystal Peoples Stokes, who's been leading us, our mama of the conference, leading us in Buffalo to Brooklyn, to everywhere across the state. Please come on over and give us some.
Good morning.
Good morning.
To God be glory.
Yes.
This is the moment that He was created. He knew the day that when this would happen. He knew that Monique Waterman would be here and leading us here. He knew that Michaelle Solages would be the chair of our caucus. He knew my sister Cleare would be the co-chair. And I'm so honored by the work that they have put forward to bring us to this day. I'm also really, really grateful that some of my people from Buffalo were able to join us in today's activities, participating in the roundtable that's coming up. And as was said many times already today, this is not a partisan issue. This is a people issue. And if you think about what it costs society every time someone is shot, whether they die or not, it costs money. And we end up paying for that as taxpayers. So either you want to give people what they need in the front, or you're going to give them what they need at the end. And quite frankly, it makes a lot more sense to give them what they need in the front.
That's right.
This country, this state, has spent a lot of time figuring ways to incarcerate people. And most of them have been black and brown people. And as a result of that incarceration, there's some troubled families who still live in our communities. They need our help. It was society that gave them this problem. It's got to be society that fixes the problem.
Yes.
So I'm going to say two things that I think should really happen, and it should happen with some urgency. Is we need to begin collecting the data on where these weapons are coming from in the state of New York. But they are sold here, and they are brought here illegally across borders. We need to figure out where it's coming from. That's the only way you're going to figure out how to stop it. You got to know where it's coming from and who's bringing it.
That's right.
The second thing I want to mention, as a result of the Marijuana Tax and Regulation Act, there are resources that are available, and most of them should be targeted to this group of people who do the work, the groundwork, trying to help families who are dealing with troubled children, trying to help teenagers who are dealing with troubled peers, and trying to help adults who quite frankly just don't know better because they've been traumatized. And so it's called the Community Advisory Team. There are several of them that are on that board, and they just need to figure out how to work with our chairs, with our co-chair here, to make sure that the resources that our state earns as a result of the legal cannabis industry get spent into the lives of the people who are still struggling to deal with something that they don't have to. Just because people are bringing illegal guns to your community as a new market, quite frankly, because we are in a new market. Every time there's not a war going on, they need some little people to buy guns. They bring them to our community. They become their new market. We have to educate our people not to do that. That's going to cost money. The resources are available. I say apply for them, get them, and thank you, God, for that opportunity. Lastly, I want to say one of our colleagues is being, as we speak, rushed to the hospital. Might have been a better. Please. Put the best prayer out there. Put the best prayer out there.
Cousins as well on the Senate side. I also wanted to make sure we have our pro tech whoever will start session. Assemblymember Pam Hunter from Syracuse to come and give us a couple of words.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
When Monique called me and asked me to speak, I had to think about it. Monique goes hard about this and has ever since she's been here, but before she came here, and I appreciate that hard work. And it just troubles my heart. We had 4 shootings on Sunday in Syracuse. Just down the street from where my son is. And these young people are just struggling so much. And it's trivialized to a point where they have nicknames. When you get shot in the head, it's head tapping them. That's the new name. That's what they call it. Did it come from a video game? Did it come from rap music? Did it come from the community? We have to do better for our young people. We have spent so much money and time and effort and thinking that we have turned the tide and things are getting better. And that iron pipeline is real. Those guns are coming from the South. They're coming from legal gun owners. They're driving them right up the thruway, right up 81 into Syracuse for people unlimited amounts of time and money to buy these guns. We have gun buybacks in the city of Syracuse, and you get money, and the next truckload of guns comes right on up the highway. And we have to do better. Our next generation won't be here if we don't take care of this problem now. It could be your son, your daughter, aunt, uncle, today, tomorrow, tonight, somebody you know, somebody you don't. I trust in the efforts of my colleagues to pass legislation. I trust in the resources that we're allocating, but I'm also asking for accountability because there are organizations, and I'm not talking about folks here today, and I can only speak to where I represent, that are receiving dollars and are not giving to the community what they are. Because we have to take accountability. These resources are not infinite. They have to go a long way for a little bit. And I have to commend Cordell Cleare, Senator, for saying underlying issues. If you're homeless, you don't have food, if you only have one parent in your home who may not be around because they're working and having a couple of different jobs, that young person is being groomed to be a part of a gang or the gun violence. We have to get these young people when they are 4, 5, 6, middle school. Trying to get them at 15, it's almost too late. So I'm counting on all of you, my colleagues, today and every day to put that extra step forward because our young people deserve to have a bright, quality, healthy future, and we can't do it without all of you. So thank you very much.
I think it's appropriate to say enough We are also joined by commissioners. We have from the city to the state here. We have the New York City Commissioner from DYCD, Commissioner Howard in the house. We have New York State Office of Children and Family Services Commissioner Dr. Demia Harris-Madden in the house. We have New York State Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the house. Service in the house. These are all the groups that keep it up for us. And as the our survivors come off the bus, we're going to go to our next member from Albany, New York, right here, Assemblymember Gabriela Romero.
That's right, Gabby.
My name is Gabriela Romero. I was just elected to the 109th Assembly District.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And before I was in the New York State Assembly, I was a public defender for almost a decade. And when I was a public defender, I did mitigation work. And what that means is that I essentially was representing people, trying to explain to the district attorney's office and the judge why they committed the crime they did, and essentially try to explain to them why they shouldn't go to prison. And I represented people that committed violent felonies, a lot of them gun possession crimes. And in doing that mitigation work and talking to my clients and explaining to, talking to my clients and listening to their stories and speaking to their families and going to their homes and walking the streets of the city of Albany and talking to community members, I learned a lot about the city of Albany, and I learned a lot about, frankly, gun violence. And what I learned about that and from my time as a city council member and really why I'm here and we're talking about gun violence, the true reality of this situation is a sad one. Our youth in the city of Albany desperately need more access. They need more education. They need more recreation. And the families in the city of Albany, the families in the city of Albany, they need more education. The youth in the city of Albany are saying that they need weapons because they're afraid. There's an issue. There's a true issue, and it's so sad. There's a true issue of violence. And here, as an Assemblymember, I was pushed into this position because we need to stop this violence. It is not right, Monique and I, it is not right that we show each other notifications of a new shooting and injury every other day. That is not right.
Not at all.
And how do we address this? We talked about investments we talked about investments in violence interrupters. We talked about investments in legislation that we can do. But the true reality is that the neighborhoods and the jurisdictions that have the least amount of gun violence are the ones that are truly invested in schools. They're the ones that have the most intense and robust investments in summer youth employment. They're the ones that have the most intense investments, the ones that have the most beautiful, sidewalks. And so by investing in our neighborhoods, by investing rigorously in our schools, by investing rigorously in our neighborhoods in an equitable way, that is how we address our most root cause and intense neighborhoods. And that is what we're going to do. By investing equitably and intensely, and by addressing things like redlined neighborhoods, like by addressing the city of Albany's issues, that is how we address violence. By addressing summer youth employment, by making sure that every single student in the city of Albany has something to do over the summer, that is how we address violence. If students in the city of Albany have something to do, that is how we will address violence. So I'm so proud that in this budget we have addressed it heavily in summer youth employment. We made sure that the city of Albany has a very rigorous and once-in-a-lifetime investment in downtown Albany. We're going to have light addressed in a way that's never been done before. We're going to have all of the red X's in the city of Albany gone. That is ridiculous. And I'll just end by everyone behind me. We're here to address gun violence, and we don't necessarily have, a answer today, but this is a long-term solution to something that needs to be addressed, and we're all here because we want to address this rigorously, and we want to address it in a holistic solution, and necessarily in a non-carceral way. And I'll just conclude by our majority leader said it best, that Black and brown people are disproportionately incarcerated for this. And we want to address that by investing in our neighborhoods. And I'm so proud to be here with my chairwoman, and we're going to do it intensely. So thank you.
All right, Gabby, come on now.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Next, we're going to hear from one of my Senate colleagues, Leah Webb.
Good morning,
Okay,
everyone.
Leah.
I represent the southern tier of New York, and one of the things that often happens in this discourse around gun violence is that we never fully talk about the after effects, the trauma that gun violence leaves behind for our communities that takes many years, if at all, to heal. And so as a state legislature, as a state, we have to do more. And I want to thank our esteemed co-chairs and leaders, all of the advocates that are here today, advocating for and uplifting the fact that we have to end gun violence. As the chair of Women's Issues in the Senate, we see how pervasive gun violence is when it comes to domestic violence. That it's easier to get access to a gun than it is to get services when you're trying to.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So it is for all of these reasons and so much more that we have to have collective action, because as it has been said, that a bullet doesn't have a name on it, but we know the names of those who are impacted. And so there are actions that we have to continue to take as a state to ensure that our community members, all of us, can thrive and live in safety and knowing that they are being invested in. And so while we as a state have made investments in gun prevention and gun safety, what often happens in this community conversation is the interjection of, well, people are trying to take away our guns and it's an infringement upon our Second Amendment rights. And what we're saying is we have to be safe. There are resources in place for a reason. And so it's important that, yes, while we support the Second Amendment, but it can't be blindly done. We can't ignore the glaring realities of how easy it is to still get access to a gun, even in a state like ours, for all the reasons that have been shared. And so I want to again thank everyone for being here. This isn't just an urban problem. This is a rural problem. This is a suburban problem. This is a New York problem. This is a country problem. And we have to collectively work together to fix it. Thank you so much.
Albany speak. And we have Ms. Wanda Willington from Albany. She's a county deputy chair of Albany County, a survivor.
Thank you all for putting on today. I tried to do this.
That's my ward leader.
Okay.
Okay.
To do a gun violence program myself. And I'm in a process where I got threatening emails because of what I was trying to do. And they filled the chambers up with a lot of people that were, really tall men from the country who were more concerned about being able to have their guns so that they could go hunting, so they said, and so forth. But I'm going to tell you about my story. They do say that gun violence is down in the city of Albany. I don't know about that. I'm going to tell you a story about someone who's lost a son to gun violence, and that is me. I still have regrets to today that when someone came to my house and told me that they thought my son was dead, I didn't want to believe it. And when I got to where he was and I saw him lying on the ground, I couldn't stand to see him there, and I wouldn't go up to him. To this day, I regret that. His sister was there, and she was down on the ground with him. And I watched as the ambulance drove away, and her looking back at him and them working on him. When I got to the hospital, they made me wait so long before I could see him, or even they came out to tell me that he was dead. And then when they did, they brought me back just to ask me if they could have some of his body parts. When I was supposed to go to work that day, and when I finally got back to work, my boss told me, "I'm going to dock you because you didn't call in to let us know that you weren't going to be in Utica that morning." When I wanted to go to get some treatment for what I was going through, well, they wanted me to have conversations with people that I didn't want to, because I didn't want my business known of what I was going through, because they already knew. Well, you have to tell them, and I refused to do it, and I never went and got treatment. Fast forward, coming home one Sunday from church. Coming home from church one Sunday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, car full of my family, and my son says to me, "They're going to fight over there, Mommy." I said, "Where?" He said, "Right there." We get out the car, the crowd is gathered, see these 2 young men fighting. The next thing I know, boys have stopped fighting, but then there's a crowd coming up the street on this side of me. And I watched this young man get right in front of me, take the gun out of his back of his pants and turn around and shoot somebody dead. That far from me, and shot him in the back 5 times. Go to church. I have to testify of what I seen. I'm sitting next to the mother of the young man who shot. I'm telling you about how this affects us in our communities. I fast forward, just last year, my nephew is sitting in the barbershop, getting his hair done, cut. Somebody runs in, shoots the barber, kills him in the seat that he was sitting in. So, when I tell you these things happen, when I tell you the trauma that it causes families, I would have never thought in a million years that I would personally experience things like this. Fast forward, one of my constituents calls me, and I hear that this little kid who lives in the housing authority has been shot. By who? His brother. We're talking about kids. The one is 6, and the other one is like 9. And he shot his brother by accident. Why? Because there was a gun in his play box. He pulled it out not knowing it was a real gun, and he shot his brother. Thankfully, his brother was not killed.
Right.
But now you know what happened. The mother now has to move out. She didn't know that the gun was in there. I can't say too much about the rest of the circumstances because of how it got there, but she didn't know it was there. These are the things that we live with each and every day. Here in Albany, 9 times out of 10, somebody knows someone who has either been shot or who has been killed. That's how close it is. But it is so difficult, even as I try to work as hard as I can on the legislature, trying to get money, trying to get money, deputy chair, to do a coding program for the summer to take these kids off the street. Put them somewhere they can do something constructive with their lives. One of the things that we do realize is this. It's not just about the guns, but it's about how we live. The resources that we don't have for our families. The fact that our kids can't live in neighborhoods where they are able to go to a neighborhood park, a pocket park, where they don't have neighborhood stores or neighborhood pharmacies or neighborhood markets right there where they live, where someone has to drive miles before they can even get to a gas station.
Come on, talk about it.
So I did not use what I had here because my personal experience, I think, is more about what we go through. I I applaud you for your efforts and what you are trying to do. You already know the story. You already know the needs. You already know the resources that we do need. A lot of what I do on the county level depends upon what you all send down to me on what we can do. We have a lot of mandated things that we must have to do that you give to us. But these cuts in Medicaid, these cuts in resources that are coming from Washington, D.C., we must do something about it. We can no longer just idly stand by and not take charge of what is going on down there. So I'm going to close now, and I couldn't use this. I'm here as a victim, and for you also to understand the trauma that we do go through. And this is each and every week that this is happening right here in our neighborhood.
Now, our speaker, Carl Hasty, let me tell you about this man. He stands 10 toes down on what's right. We have a budget along with his co-leader in the Senate to make sure that we didn't have a just on-time budget, that we had a right budget. So I want us to give it up to our speaker, Carl Hasty.
It's a shame that we have to really come here and talk about really the symptoms of what is really a disease when it comes to gun violence. And I always have to start out by reminding people that this country's fascination with guns is something that I can't understand. We're the only industrialized nation that allows citizens to carry guns. There are 400 million civilian-held guns, and we only have 330 million people in this country. So that means there's 1.3 civilian-held guns for every person in this country. That's not including the military, it's not including law enforcement. But then we get upset when we see that these guns are proliferating in our communities. And I tell everybody, an illegal gun on the streets started out legal somewhere. And we have to do a better job as a nation. That's the Second Amendment. But I think the Second Amendment really was about citizen militias because of the British, but British are our friends. And so this fascination of having the access to guns, and then we get upset when we see what happens in our communities. We really have to stop the access to the guns coming out of the community. With that being said, because that's going to take a monumental task, I doubt that it happens in my lifetime or my daughter's lifetime that we get this country off this fascination with guns. But we have to do all we can particularly in our inner city communities to kind of mitigate the tension, the issues, and the deputy chair of the county legislature mentioned this. There's a lot going on in the communities. Young people need to know how to handle disputes. And all of these things we need to kind of make sure we keep putting the resources in so that young people have options other than resorting to this, lifestyle video game. You don't get 3 lives, you don't get a chance to go back to where you are. And I remember a good friend of mine who I went to college with. Her brother was a victim of gun violence. When I went to the funeral, the pastor who was preaching said, "We don't want any other mothers to be crying over her son like she is." And that was almost 30 years ago. We're still having the same problems. But I want to applaud my colleagues, particularly the caucus, on continue to try to raise the awareness of what is happening. We have a lot of things that other places do to us, but we have to do better about getting our own community to deal with gun violence. It's just such a tragedy when this happens. We lose the positive impacts that these young people give to us as a city, as a state, as a government, as a nation, and we still just have to do more. But I really want to thank my colleague, particularly Monique. When people get elected, there's usually, everybody's great on a lot of things, but there's usually sometimes there's one thing that is their passion. So I do want to acknowledge gun violence and anti-gun violence.
from Peacemakers from Buffalo, New York.
I certainly want to applaud, and I am simply amazed by these amazing women that have stood on the front line of this work. I've been involved in youth programs for 50 years. In the last 20 years, I have been to 384 of people that look like me due to gun violence. These amazing women, all of them should be applauded. One of the reasons I strongly advocate for women's headship, that if women were heads of state departments and presidents around the world, we would have less world wars because they care about self-defense. Something they could work out in the salon in the White Caucus. So now what we have here in our country, as the senator and the speaker just said, we have this amazing fascination with guns, all these guns, and we have a reputable group that's standing on the Second Amendment right there. At the time the framers developed that Second Amendment, the gun of choice was a flintlock pistol that took almost 45 seconds to reload. They had no idea guns would evolve to the point where they could take 100 lives within them 45 seconds. Or they never would have passed such a law. But they stand on that, and they continue to stand on that, and continually ease legislation to allow guns to proliferate on our city street. And New York State have some of the toughest gun legislation in this country, but yet we probably have more guns than the average state in this country because they're flooding in, and somebody is not doing their work in terms of maintaining the borders, in terms of investigating into this problem that we have. I run youth programs, and like I say, those youth, and I've lost many youth, you know, when you're talking about Christian Porter was 14 years old, Ray Patterson was 14 years old, Shania Naylor was 14. These were 14-year-olds that had to go to the funerals and talk to the mothers, just like that mother just shared here today. It messes with you continuously, and they never recover from that. Never. To having to bury their child. And so now we have a system that says it's all right for that kind of pain. It's all right for that kind of destruction. We have to begin to hold people accountable so that we can get tougher gun legislation, so we can stop guns from flowing into New York State. Like in the city of Buffalo, I was there at 514. I was there immediately after. My peacemaker was out there helping families immediately after that. And I happen to be a counselor in this town. And I've been counseling parents that have been impacted and families that have been impacted by that incident. And it's almost like nobody cares. We have to begin to do more. As our legislators have said today, we have to begin to invest on the prevention end. And the prevention end, it means that I have to begin to pour money into those organizations that are preventing this work. I run a group that has already resolved 41 conflicts between gangs. So there's a good chance that 41 lives were saved because of the work on the prevention side of this. You know, I don't care about the individuals that go to the hospital, the victims, yet I want to take care of them as well. But if we can stop that, this is a thing, if it's really about money, and I know that it is, otherwise we'd have been passed legislation to stop manufacturers from distributing so many guns. If it's really about money, then we ought to be saving this money to invest in the recreational programs, like they said. We don't have anything to do, and when our youth don't have anything to do, they'll create their own mission. They'll find something to do, and it's always negative, and they'll find it on the city streets, and they'll find it in places, right, that you don't allow them to go in. And they wind up in gangs, they wind up in places that's going to be harmful to each other. And somebody does not care the fact that these lives are taken. And we have numbers like Bosnia, we have numbers like Afghanistan, we have numbers like that's happening right now in the Ukraine. We have numbers like that, and yet nobody is really saying it. And we don't have a war with anybody. That's crazy. We have this internal war going on, and everybody seems like it's all right to be burying these many individuals right due to gun violence right now.
Thank you so much. The pastor is joined by Mia Ayers from Most Valued Players. Most Valued Parents, MVP, sorry. And we're going to have Assemblymember Anderson to come from Queens to come to my
Good morning. Good morning. I'm State Assemblymember Michaelle Anderson, and I represent Far Rockaway, Rosedale, Springfield Gardens, and South Roosevelt Park. I want to take a moment to thank our co-chairs, both Senator Cleare and Assemblywoman Chandler Waterman, for bringing us here together. Let's put our hands together for them. But before I begin my remarks, I also want to thank the non-caucus members who are standing with us here today, because your neighborhoods need you, and we know that bullets don't discriminate. They just emaciate. They'll get rid of you. They eliminate. And so we thank every single member who's here today, but the non-caucus members for being here, because your city, your town, your neighborhood, your village needs you to help us battle this disease that is gun violence. I hope that this event that we put on each year is a space for us to share the pain, but to turn that pain into purpose. To realize that each and every single one of us who are committed to ending this disease have the power to do so from where we sit. Whether we're an elected official, a council member, a ward leader, an assembly member, a state senator, a speaker, or majority leader, we all have the power to end this scourge, this disease that impacts our neighborhoods. Whether you're a victim, a survivor, we all have an ability to end this disease. Every year since I've been elected to this body, I've carried at least one piece of legislation that focuses on the issue of gun violence. Why? I'm not a victim of gun violence. Just, on the strength of that. But I know that my neighbors are suffering with this disease every single day, every single year. And there are two stories that come to mind when I think of this issue of gun violence. The loss of a 9-year-old baby boy in Far Rockaway, in Edgemere, that was gunned down due to a parking dispute. You took that baby's life away. And last week, he would have been starting high school. And so when I talk about turning that pain to purpose, from where I sat, I recognize that conflict is inevitable. Conflict is a natural part of human existence. It's been here longer than we all have been alive combined. But gun violence is preventable. And how we work to solve gun violence, whether you live in Far Rockaway, whether you live in Utica, New York, or whether you live in downtown Brooklyn, or whether you live in Queens, or whether you live in the boogie down Bronx, we know that gun violence is a preventable disease. And we have to be able to solve civil disputes without picking up a weapon. We have to be able to de-escalate. Because if we don't, we'll only incarcerate. We have to be able to de-escalate, because if we don't, we'll end up with a loss of life. But when I think about Justin's story, and when I think about this bill I'm carrying this year, Francisco, I know that whether a gun is obtained illegally or legally, we know it shouldn't land in the hands of a young person. And that's why we have legislation that would ensure that we keep young people away from firearms. And that we have safe storage laws here in the state of New York, and we should be leading the way on that effort. And so as I close out, I want us to understand that we can organize, we can agitate, so that we don't incarcerate, so that we don't over create and expand this pandemic that is gun violence. Thank you all so much.
And now we're gonna hear from our survivors. We're gonna, from every town and also from God Squad, we have Pamela Height, which is a national organization. Miss Pamela, and I guess Natasha will stand next to her. I know survivors get together. All the survivors are going to pop one time.
These are all the survivors. That we have some of the survivors that came all the way up here. First, let me start with you. My name is Pamela Height. My two sons was murdered. My youngest son was 17 years old. He was gunned down. My oldest son was stabbed upstate New York, which is Troy, New York, at 32. And I have 4 grandchildren. At this time, I'm here every town survivor. And these bills that we have, please, we have our legislators, Monique Chandler Waterman, that's pushing for our bills. We have a lot of assembly that's pushing for the bills for our, to be signed. We need these bills. We come up here every year, every morning. Monique Chandler Waterman, she makes sure we on the bus at 5:30 in the morning to get here, then to get transported all the way up these stairs and everything. We are here as survivors, as warriors, as mothers and families that need these bills signed. We need these bills signed. Let me say it again, we need these bills signed. Please, help us get these bills signed. I'm going to let Natasha speak. Natasha Christopher speak on our families that children were murdered.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natasha Christopher. I am a survivor. I am also the CEO and the founder of the Akil Christopher Community Center, an organization I started to honor my son, Akil Christopher. I am also part of a group called Survivor Strong. I am a staff at East Flatbush Village. I do hospital response. I am here today to say thank you to Assemblywoman Monique Chandler, Assemblywoman Jamie Williams, and Senator Zell Mary for all that you have done. Thank you for the bills that you did get pushed through. Hey, for years, families were getting just basically $6,000 to bury their loved one. And Monique and her team, along with New York Against Gun Violence and Common Justice, have gotten those funds increased to $12,000. So we want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you again. And last year when we came up here, Amanda Montrose, she's right here. She had some issues and she was complaining after her son, Josiah, was murdered, that the family had to clean the blood up, and now there's law in place. I guess they were in place now, but it's stronger now, and the blood will be cleaned up. So Amanda, thank you for your advocacy. So you also did that to help those things. Every year, we're advocating because we care about our community, right? We want to make sure that our children grow up. I stand here, and there are little kids standing here beside me. There's a baby right here. And these kids deserve to grow up in a country free of gun violence. You know, they deserve to grow up. We should not be here. This beautiful Mackenzie should not have to stand here.
For her father,
For her father, right? For her dad.
that she never met because he was snatched.
Right. That, he wasn't taken, he was murdered. Right? People like to say lost. Our children are not lost. They were murdered. So, and baby chosen over there was born. He's a twin. His twin sister is not here. But he shouldn't even have to be here. And these are why we come up here all the time and we advocate. Like you see survivors standing up by my side. Everyone has a picture of their loved one on their shirt. And this should not be our new norm. So we're asking every senator, every assembly person who has a bill that is affecting things around gun violence, please continue to work hard. And the people who have the power of the pen, please sign those laws. I would like to have my son feel safe. He came home from college and my son would not leave the house. He should not feel like he doesn't feel safe to go outside. That should never have to happen. He already lost 2 friends already to gun violence that he went to school with. So we as people, we as the community, we must do better. And we are doing better. We have mothers, we have fathers here, and we are here asking you, please put an end to the gun violence. Help us put an end to senseless gun violence. We can do this. I am telling you we can do this. When COVID came out, everybody found something to cure COVID. So let's find a reason to cure gun violence. We must do something.
A group no one wants to be a part of, but it continues growing. Thank you to our survivors for always speaking out and always saying not another child. So next on the list, we have Frank Tay, Program Director from New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, National Organization. Frank's going to come. They help write the legislation for New York State Office of Gun Violence. Thank you, Frank. You can have it.
Good morning, folks. Thank you all for being here. My name is Frank Tay from New Yorkers Against Gun Violence. I'm grateful to be in the presence of courageous legislators, resilient survivors, and passionate community advocates as we continue our fight to make New York State an equitable and safe state for all New Yorkers. I'm also immensely grateful for the work done by all of us in ensuring that our efforts led by the State Office of Gun Violence Prevention and that this office remains intact and funded going forward. As we know, saving lives should not be a partisan issue. Many of you know about our lobbying efforts, but our efforts are also led and informed by our year-round youth program that works throughout New York City schools, known as Reaction. Reaction is where students learn about the root causes of gun violence and come up with viable solutions to ending this issue, right? As we know, gun violence is the leading killer of young children and teens, so we thought that it was fit that an issue that affects them so much, they should be at the forefront of finding solutions for it. So many of young people have their lives cut short, their dreams cut short, and their aspirations washed away by this epidemic in America. It is amazing that New York State continues to be a leader in this, and I'm so proud that all of us are here today to continue this fight. I do hope to see a day where we no longer have to be here every June when gun violence is eradicated, right? But until then, thank you all for your efforts in this fight. And we'll continue to make sure that we save lives and lead the country and showing folks how to continue to make our work better.
Thank you, and shout out to Rebecca Fisher again from New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, who leads that cause. I also want to say hello to Senior Advisor for First World. She's not with the Mayor's office. Yes, Mayor's office. And TYCD, Lemuria, thank you so much for coming. We will have our Assembly member from Rochester, Monique to speak. You know, a number of electeds did come. I'm sorry, everybody don't get to speak, but there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of electeds. We're doing the best we can with those who RSVP. So, Assembly members of Monique.
So I'll be brief. First, I need everyone to turn to the person next to you, grab both of their hands, and simply say, may God continue to give you strength. You know, there's been a number of things that we've done across the state as it relates to monies and resources. One of the big programs you hear about is the GIVE program, Gun Involved Violence Elimination Initiative. But one of the best things that we can do is invest money into our violence interrupters. Those who are focused in this space, those who have their boots on the ground in the community that know firsthand where the beats may lie. And that's willing to put their lives on the line and going and reaching out to these members of the community and having conversations with them, trying to get them to turn the other way from the violence. So with that being said, I think we also have to be intentional as legislators to think of end games of sorts as it relates to those who are in the space. They deal with a number of stress. They deal with PTSD on a regular basis. It may be at a birthday party and a balloon pop and it does something to them. We have to look at those who are doing this work the same way that we look at law enforcement and other state entities. We give them a retirement plan, we give them pensions, we give them benefits, we give them access to therapy. We have to be intentional in advocating for money and resources to protect those who protect us. We talk about law enforcement, but I know firsthand that it's the members of the community that have helped decrease instances of violence across the community. And it takes me back to a great ancestor who said, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. And a number of us have that Benny New Haven spirit. And we're pushing back. And we're fighting the good fight. So I want you all to know that we appreciate you all. Without your advocacy, we would not be here. We're going to continue to fight this good fight. May God continue to bless you and give you strength. Thank you.
From Brooklyn, New York, come out here. Say a couple words.
Good morning, everyone. I am New York State Assemblymember Stephanie Zimmerman, and I represent the 56th Assembly District, which is Bedford-Stuyvesant and Crown Heights. We are a beautiful and vibrant community, but we are no strangers to gun violence. Before I address 5 specific groups, I want to give it up to our chair, our co-chair, Monique and Cordell, and certainly Michaelle for her leadership as well. When you have 3 black women putting their heads together to do something, the job gets done. And so we want to give it up to each of them. So to the families who stand here with us today, telling their stories, reminding us of our purpose, I want you to know that everyone in this conference is behind you. Through legislation, through investment in programs, through partnerships on the ground, through remembering the names of each one of your loved ones. We know you are survivors, and we are here to help you survive through this pandemic. I want to thank you for the work that you continue to do. To America, as we embark on the 250th year of the founding of this country, we've got to tell the real story about who we are. This is a country built on violence. And it only shows up in certain communities because this is also a country that was founded with racist ideology. And it is the reason that there are people who are responsible, who have guns, who buy them responsibly, and then there are neighborhoods that get infiltrated every single day by bad actors and put the guns for people who are young and poor into the hands of those young people. Right. And so America, it is time for you to tell the truth about who you are, change your ways, and invest in the healing that is absolutely necessary, the reparative work that you need to do for the communities that you have harmed because you still allow this to happen. That's right. To my colleagues who are upstate, who own guns, who've had a culture, listen, I believe in protection. I belong to a gun club, but we have to be true to what's going on right now. You are targeting our community so you can help destroy them. And so when we bring bills to the floor, stop thinking about what's going on in your neighborhood because it's happening too. Young people are killing themselves upstate and they literally are leaving their homes and going into schools and murdering massively. Right. And they've been doing this since Columbine, and we still have not done anything about that particular surge of violence. To the human development workers, our angels in our community, we call them violence interrupters, but I want to talk about the human development work that they do. that they put themselves on the line every day, as Devon says. And everything that he said is in a bill that says they should be paid at the same rate as a police officer with those benefits because of the work that they do. They are there for public protection, but they are there to show love, to tell people that they understand and they don't have to choose this way of life. So I'm looking at the Center for Justice and Innovation. I'm looking at Kali and all of the clergy that we work with, all of the faith-based organizations that do this work. We want to continue to lift them up. I want to just end my remarks today and address the shooters. We're going to win this fight. Everybody that's here, we're going to win this fight. That's right. And we're going to win this fight because there's more of us than there is of you. That's right. And you know this because the catchment areas in each community are getting smaller and smaller. And so we are winning that war, but I know it doesn't feel like it because to your point, Monique, every single life lost is a tragedy. But you won't win because we are showing up with love. We are showing up with grace and resources for you because we know that in your heart, this is learned behavior. You weren't born a shooter. And so we're going to continue to do the human development work with you. But right now, let you know our real focus is making sure that we heal the families here, that we as a state put the resources and the legislation together to ensure that violence becomes something in the past. Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you for telling your stories, and let's continue to do this great work.
If I could just shout out a couple of groups. We may ever not get to speak, but I'm going to let them mention them as well. We still have a couple more groups to speak. We're being late. We're not at an hour yet, so thank you for your patience. We have My Time Inc. in our house. Let's give it up for them.
When I go back to Brooklyn, I'm speaking to my team and to the people that we represent. I'm bringing the same passion and feel and zest back to our organization and back to the communities that we serve. So my name is Anthony Rowe. I'm the project director of Neighbors in Action, Save Our Streets, Brooklyn. I represent Town Heights, Bedside, parts of Flatbush. So today I'm deeply honored to stand in the presence of so many courageous survivors, unwavering advocates, and the visionary legislators who have refused to accept gun violence as a normal fact of life in our communities. This past legislative session marked the turning point. Together through tireless organizing, powerful testimony, resilient advocacy, we made progress towards building a New York where safety is not only a privilege, it's not a privilege, but a guarantee for every person. The codification of the Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence, this is more than just a bureaucratic win. It's a recognition that preventing violence must be a permanent, coordinated, and community-rooted priority. We also advance crucial support for victim services, acknowledging that healing is just as important as prevention. Survivors deserve more than sympathy. They deserve access to trauma-informed care, resources, and systems that affirm their dignity and help them rebuild. These accomplishments, amongst others, are a result of our collective strength. And while we still have work to do ahead, Today we pause to recognize what's possible when courage meets compassion and when policy is driven by people. We are not powerless. We are building something real, something tangible, and we're just getting started. So I want to send a special shout out and thank you to Senator Myrie and Assemblymember Chandler Waterman and all the legislators involved for your steadfast leadership and dedication to the communities most impacted by gun violence. Together, we will not just respond to gun violence, we will end it. So thank you, everybody.
We're going to have a few more groups speak, and I want to thank my colleagues who had to leave because we have session going on, but they definitely came and stopped by. We're going to have next on the list, we're going to have Kings Against Violence Initiative. We're going to have Monique Williams come up to speak from Cali.
For your leadership dedication. I am here from Kings Against Violence Initiative. I'm also here as someone who lost a niece. She was born in Harlem Hospital 18 years ago. She died in Harlem Hospital last year. She was shot by a 13-year-old. So when we talk about the risk factors and the protective factors that lead to gun violence, that's been mentioned here today, we need to be aware of these things, that you can't suspend young people. So when we talk about legislative solutions, we should be behind the Solutions, Not Suspensions Act. We should be behind the Youth Justice and Opportunities Act, which allows workforce development programs for young people of all types of motivational levels, of all types of educational levels and skill levels. We should be behind the legislation A203A, which expands hospital violence intervention programs in all public hospitals in the state. We should be behind the Youth Justice and Opportunities Fund, which supports organizations that are working with young people impacted by the penal system, because they deserve a second chance too. And so I want to thank, again, all my colleagues from the CBOs and organizations here, every town and each type of village. I want to thank you. We work within a partnership with One Brooklyn Health, and we look forward to doing more work together. Thank you.
Bobby Carroll, Assemblymember Landon D. Days, Assemblymember, Alex Borres, and Senator Solages, Assemblymember Clyde Linnell, Assemblymember Alicia Hyndman, Assemblymember Udelka Tapia, Assemblymember Emerita Torres, Senator Roxanne Massad was here. We heard Assemblymember Gary Cracklow, Senator Jamal Bailey. We also had Assemblymember Jordan Wright, Assemblymember Rebecca C. Wright, Senator April Baskin was here as well, Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, Assemblymember Marianne Buttonshine, Assemblymember Rebecca Cassay, Assemblymember Joanne Simon, Assemblymember Harvey Epstein, Assemblymember Kwani O'Farrell, Assemblymember Brian Cunningham, and Senator Leroy Comrie was also here in the House. Listen to the names, they are here. I know more people would like to come, but we definitely had a pack out. Assemblymember Farrah Safran as well. Next on the list, we're going to have Brownsville Think Tank Matters to come on down and speak. Mr. Al Matthew.
Good morning. This is kind of wild for me. Grandson, I brought my grandson here to experience what's going on. My grandson just graduated last week from high school. Something I didn't get an opportunity. Living in the communities that we live in, we normalize street. I was a victim of gun violence, living that type of lifestyle. Not realizing and normalizing that it's something normal to be shot or shooting at someone. Until I had to become 31 years old in prison. His mother, my daughter, watching her from distance, writing letters. I said I cannot live the life that I was living and do that to my kids. It changed my life, became a barbershop owner. In 1996, been a master barber for over 30 years, teaching young individuals how to cut hair. Inside my barbershop, I started seeing parents that was losing kids, and I said I gotta do more. Cutting their heads, cutting other kids' heads for free to go to funerals. Started a nonprofit organically on Brownsville Think Tank Matters, being a couple other individuals. And since then, 2014, we have been successful working with city agencies, private contractors. Currently, we're part of CMS with DYCE in 2 locations in East Flatbush and Brownsville. And we're doing impact work. But like the Assemblymember said, Rochester, this is hard work. Sleepless nights. Myself, as being the CEO, I'm up. Sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning, going to bed 3 o'clock in the morning. Actually, last night, they're rushing to get here to be a part of this. We have to do something about this. We have to show individuals that's doing this work that they are vital. Sometimes they get stressful and think they're not doing much because of accesses to certain funding, not being acknowledged in the capacity that they need to be acknowledged. We have Labor Day coming up in New York, in Brooklyn, New York, and that's a real intensive week of work. So I have to start preparing myself right now for that. We prevented since I've been a part of the Juve Festival, we prevented numerous people being shot and stabbed and hurt. And I thank y'all for being a part of this. We have to do more for our cities. Thank you.
So next we'll have East Flatbush Village King, co-founder, executive director, Eric Waterman, come and speak. I know he has a group of youth here to shout out to our youth, our young people who's here today.
Good morning. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Senator Waterman, I'm the executive director and co-founder of East Flatbush Village King Youth and Community Development Organization with its intent focus of gang and gun violence prevention. Over 17 years now in existence. For 15 years of that existence, we have established our Enough Anti-Violence Initiative, which focuses on just developing and educating neighbors, for neighbors to make sure prevention. We want to make sure that our communities are uplifted and enriched with all the resources necessary for us to have the greatest impact in our young people's lives. It is devastating to see the trauma and the tragedy that strikes through gun violence and through gang violence. And so we do everything in our power through programs, through enrichment programs, through youth sports programs, through violence prevention, through intervention. We do everything in our power to make sure not another life is taken. Every day, every time a life is taken, senselessly from gun violence, it definitely feels like a step backwards. But what you have to also see is the lives that we've saved or the lives that we've had impact on. And through the legislation, the support of agencies and groups and partnerships throughout our collaborations throughout the entire borough, we think we have an even greater impact and more opportunity to save more lives. And so we're going to continue those efforts. We ask and appreciate all those that are standing with us today and standing with us going forward, and particularly legislators, to continue to push the effort behind organizations, our organization and organizations like us, to be able to save more lives. Thank you very much. Enough is enough.
Unfortunately, where do they go? They go to the hospital. We have a trauma unit. We also got Dr. Easterling here as well. You may have seen a little famous during COVID. Hi, I am Tori Easterling. Come on down and let's have some greetings.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name again is Rami Abdelnabi. I'm joined here by Dr. Tori Easterling, and we represent One Brooklyn Health, Brookdale Hospital. I want to first thank because, like stated, when patients get injured, they show up at our hospital. And Brookdale is very important because we actually service one of the highest gun crime patients and areas in all of Brooklyn. And so we see a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. My message to everyone here today is two things. The first is, as physicians, as doctors, as surgeons, please know that while we share the joy when we save a life, when someone recovers, when someone rehabilitates, we also share everybody's pain. We share tears with families when unfortunately we cannot save a life. And that affects us as physicians, as clinicians as well. And the second thing to understand is much like the message that's being said today. As physicians, we think that preventative care is the key and is the best form of medicine. And so all of the work that's happening today, thank you. Yes, prevention is the key to solving this epidemic. And we are partners not only with legislatures, but also the CEOs, the community, in preventing and ending gun violence across not only our borough, but across the state and across the country. This is a very important mission to everyone at One Brooklyn Health and Brookdale Hospital as well. And we hope to continue coming to events, continue collaborating, and really taking care of all the people, families, and patients alike. Thank you so much.
Before we close out, I want to make sure we shout out to our 8058 task force that's in the house. Let's give it up for them. Unfortunately, we got to do these programs, but I just want to once again thank everyone for coming here today. I'm so sorry that we got to go through this, but your voice is vital. Because of you, within this our third, I would say this is our third roundtable discussion, our third advocacy day, and we have secured over $25 million directly coming from the state, going to New York City DYCB over 5 years. We have secured new terminology. We have secured New York State Office of Gun Violence. We have made sure we expanded Office of Victim Services. We have a lot of bills that have passed because of your voice. Your voice is vital. Don't let anyone tell you or make you feel that your voice is not vital. Now we're going to go to the roundtable discussion to make sure that we hear about what highlights that y'all all accomplished and what we still need to work on. So let's get to work. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.